So I guess one thing to preface before I start, I'm gonna walk you through something that I built for my day job, as they say. Basically, we had a situation where I wanted more content on our website. So I had this idea. I was like, what if we could create a page on our website for every single industry that we work with? And we're the largest independently owned insurance agency in the state of Minnesota. So that number of industries was like 200 or 300. So I was like, oh, wow, we work with 300 different industries. Wouldn't that be cool if, since we have experience in all those industries, wouldn't it be cool if we had a page on our website that was like insurance for insert industry? So I started thinking about it, mapping it out, how would it go? And this is what I came up with. This is basically the workflow. I started in Figma, and I designed this with Mike. If you've ever been on if you've ever been on the meetup before, Mike is a designer we've had on. So he designed the page, and I'll show you what that looks like in a second. But then basically I went from that page design. I built out an Airtable based on the design, and I'll show you the Airtable as well. But then I've got a trigger that sends data from Airtable to make.com. My scenario in Make does a bunch of stuff. It like creates an open graph image using Formstack documents, and then it pings the Chat GPT API a bunch of times. And then once all of the stuff is done, then from Make, I send all that data to Airtable. Once that data is in Airtable, then I use Whalesync. Shout out again to Whalesync. That Whalesync is listening, and Whalesync just basically automatically uploads everything to Webflow, where I have a CMS collection that pretty much mirrors the base that I have built in Airtable. So Whalesync just automatically syncs that all through and sets the page live. So soup to nuts, if the prompts were giving me results that I was happy with, that was giving me content that I really liked, this whole thing to develop a web page and get it live on our site could take less than a minute. It was crazy. I would load in an industry. I'd say, I want to do a web page for truckers. And then I'd put in truckers, and it would go through the whole thing. And a minute later, I would have a page that was all about insurance for truckers. So it was pretty slick. So let me first show you this Figma design. So I'm going to go over here. So this is what Mike designed. So this was his example, was insurance for dentists. And you can see it's pretty kind of basic. Yeah, not saying Mike's design was basic, but it's just information about insurance for dentists. We don't need to kind of belabor what's on here, but it's a kind of an in-depth page. We've got different coverages that a dentist might want. We've got, content about like the advantages of a dentist being protected, and we've got common questions and answers that someone might ask. Then we've got related industries to dentists. Then we've got calls to action. So this was the page. To give you an idea of what I was planning to generate with AI, everything in red I generate with AI. In addition to what is in red that you're about to see, I also was building out SEO title tags, meta descriptions, and then our open graph image as well. So we're kind of feeding in. We've got a headline, a subheading. We've got this like intro paragraph that was generated by AI. We've got all these advantages to staying. I switched around the layout a little bit from the first design, but advantages to staying protected. This was going to be the same on every page. And then I've got a custom kind of intro paragraph to the different types of coverage. Then I was actually going to select 6 different types of coverage. so it was going to be a related list, a related CMS, and then it was just going to feed in. So the mix of coverages is unique. And then we've got custom text here, and then the additional related industries where it was also going to be generated through AI. So if I just zoom out a little bit here, you'll see that on this page, we've got a good bit of content that is generated through Chat GPT and AI. So we designed it, and then I identified which bits of the page I wanted to be generated by AI. And then what I did was in Airtable, for every one of these red sections, so for the headline, for the subhead, for this intro paragraph, for this advantages, for this intro, I created a field in Airtable to match what I need, which content I needed to put on the page. So let's jump to Airtable and I'll show you what that looks like. So this is my Airtable base. I've got my industry name that I manually load in, but then I've got a field for SEO title, SEO meta description. I've got my SEO open graph image, and you'll just see here, it's pretty simple. It's just insurance for blank for industry name. So I've got my open graph image, but then I've got my page headline, my subhead, my industry introduction. I've got all my sections that I needed created for me with AI. So got my design, I figured out what was unique, and then I built out my Airtable to have fields for every unique AI generated section. And then what I do is I have an automation in Airtable that's just basically it's when a record enters a view. So it's basically driven off a status. So I've got a status that is set to ready for content, which throws it into a view in Airtable. And then the way that I interact with Make is I just run a script, and my script is really simple. It's just basically saying it's my input config. I won't go too much into this because this can get a little too detailed, but basically I'm just pinging a webhook. And what I'm doing is when I'm pinging that webhook, I'm just sending over the record ID of that Airtable record that entered that view. So I know which record is ready for content, and I'm sending that Airtable ID to Make. And now here is my Make scenario. Right here. Here's my Make scenario. So what I've done, I'm pinging my webhook, which is sending that Airtable ID. In Airtable, I'm getting that record. And right now, the only thing in that record at the start is the only thing in there is the industry name. And then what I'm doing is I'm sending that industry name, and I'm creating the SEO page title, the meta description, the headline, the subhead, industry. I'm creating all those things. And then the responses that are generated from those prompts, and I'll dive into one of those in a second. I'm just saving all of those responses back into Airtable. So you can see here, these will start to pulse. So you can see the common questions intro. I'm saving that back into common questions introduction. Advantages, you see it pulsing there. So I'm just feeding whatever was created. I'm feeding that back into Airtable. Then I've also got with Formstack documents, I'm creating that open graph image. So I've got a document, and then I'm saving that document back into Airtable as well. So in that open graph image, that SEO open graph image, I'm saving that back in there. So let's quick dive into what one of these prompts look like. So if I look in my prompt, what I've done is and this was kind of the learning part for me, is as a professional website copywriter specializing in optimizing written content for search engines, you're kind of giving the AI a frame of mind. You're like telling it how to behave. And then what I'm doing is I'm saying, please write a web page title, because I'm looking for the SEO web page title. Please write a web page title for a web page about insurance for, and what I'm doing is I'm feeding in that industry name from the Airtable record. This page will be published on the christensengroup.com, and it's going to meet the following criteria: minimum of 45 characters, maximum of 60, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I gave it all of these criteria, and it'll spit out an SEO page title. And then I did the same thing with meta description. As a professional website copywriter, blah, 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 I need a web page meta description. I need a headline. Please write a short headline for the web page insurance for dentists. And so I just have all these prompts where I'm saying, now I need a subheadline. Please write a short subheadline for the page insurance for dentists. And then I can give it more context. So I can actually kind of like daisy chain these together a bit. So I could say the subheadline you are writing will relate to the main page headline that says, and then I've actually fed in the headline from the step before. So I'm basically generating all of this content from ChatGPT, OpenAI, and I'm just feeding it back into Airtable. Once it's back in Airtable, go back to my data here, this stuff all starts publishing and generating.
Hey, Kyle, you got a few questions in the chat already. I don't know if I take a look and see if any of them are.
I can't see anything that's going on, but I can look at the chat. Can you auto-generate FAQ schemas with this? I would have to play around. You'd probably want to play around if OpenAI, if ChatGPT could generate schema, which probably could. I would guess that you can. I would guess that you can.
I mean, if it's good at writing code, that should be very simple for it.
Yeah, I would guess that you can. Could someone use ChatGPT to put a step-by-step guide together of this process? So interestingly, well, one, you could probably take the transcript. We could probably take the transcript of this presentation and then create a step-by-step guide. I know that Connor Finlayson was creating. He does a bunch of make scenarios. If you don't know who Connor is, he's got a great YouTube channel, but he uses make a lot, and he wants to understand what's going on in his make scenarios. And so he created an AI workflow that basically looks at his make scenario and then explains everything that's going on. I don't know if you could go from tool to tool and have it just automatically generate that from scratch, but you might be able to do that with the transcript of this. How has this content performed thus far organically? The answer to your question is poorly, because once I started seeing the results and I was like, this sounds like a middle schooler wrote it, because it's like insurance stuff is complicated and technical. I was like, this isn't, I tried tweaking the prompts. I tried being more specific, and it just never got there. So I'm actually looking at some other AI tools that have been trained on insurance information, and I'm going to see if that gives us better results, because they have more of an insurance heavy tilt to their training. I've never used Make before. Is this template process shareable? I've never tried to share a process. I can look into that. I don't know. I'd be happy to connect and like walk you through it. There's a little bit of a learning curve, but I've really appreciated Make, especially over a tool like Zapier or anything like that. It's way more robust, and it feels like it doesn't break down. It allows you to like error handle a lot better. So it's great. Okay, so let me quick jump back in. So now I've actually got it hidden, but there's a status, and the status, if I update the status and the status becomes live on site, or if I put the status to live on site, then Whalesync knows, oh, I need to take this thing and I need to put it live on the site. And then it ends up getting fed up into Webflow just automatically. Won't go too much into Whalesync or Webflow, but basically just know that I'm mapping my fields one-to-one from Airtable to Webflow. And then since I built my page out on Webflow to look exactly like to look exactly like that Figma, I basically have these pages. So the last thing I'll show you about this, and then I want to get into my surprise, is let's just like pretend and we'll make one. So I can go like this. So let's say that car dealerships. I want to do insurance for car dealerships. Cannabis wholesalers is probably cannabis wholesalers. It's kind of interesting. So if I say ready for content, then that should trigger my workflow. So ready for content is up here. And what I can do is I can check my automation to see if I've got my, so I've got my one automation in progress. Let's see what's going on with it. Success, ran successfully. So now if I come to here and I go out, we should be able to see if it's still working. You can see now, it's coming through and we're getting like a live feed of it. So this is coming in and you'll start to see these things. It's all the way to here. So now I'm creating this section of content. And so it takes a little bit because I'm asking it to do so much, but it's going step by step through this process. Now Airtable. So now if I go back to Airtable, I should have some content in here. And now we can see it's probably down at the bottom. What was the one I did? Was it cannabis? I created an interface. So this is an Airtable interface, just so it's easier to do. So now this is what was just created. I've got my insurance for cannabis wholesalers. SEO title is secure your cannabis wholesaling business with comprehensive insurance. These are actually swapped around. I didn't fix it, but this is actually the title. This is the meta. So you'll see that sometimes is like adding quotations, but then I've got my subheading. So what I didn't love was that sometimes it was giving me just stuff that needed more of a human touch than I was anticipating. And so I can come in here and I can do whatever I want. I could say insurance for you, cannabis wholesalers. So I've got all my stuff. Without reading through all of it, basically, if anyone who is like an insurance professional looked at this, they'd go, yeah, I mean, it's not wrong, but it's also like not really providing much value. And so that was my problem with it, is that it was generating a lot of good stuff. And I even like got it formatted how I wanted. See how it's coming back with like headings. And this was all had to do with my prompt. I just updated my prompt over and over and over till I got it doing what I needed. But now if I go like this and I say, so this was a manual step too. So let's say I'm just making this up. I'm going to add some related industries.
And in your, in your initial page where you put, you had a little like traffic light system and you switched it to the yellow, which initiated the system. And then how does that look right now? Oh,
up here. So it says ready for review.
It's in ready for review. Okay.
And now if I go like this on ready for review, let me find cannabis again. And if I hit this to live on site, Whalesync has now grabbed this record. And if I click here and I say visit page, we will see that I now have a web page on my site. I'll take this down, but you can see how it's generated a ton of stuff. Now, I didn't have some of the coverages weren't in there yet. So when it tried to set up the related lists, they didn't come through. But it's generated a lot of stuff. And for me to have a web page that had all this in, a minute, that's pretty amazing. It just wasn't giving me the content I wanted. So now the nice thing about Whalesync is that if I go like this and I go back to ready for review, then it will now pull it off the site and I think I'll probably get a 404 here in a second. So that's the process, soup to nuts. Is I've gone from Figma design, matched the design in Airtable, sent it to Make, generated all this stuff, sent it back to Airtable, and Whalesync did all its thing. I'm going to pause there for questions, and then I'm going to show you one little like spicy, not spicy, but little thing that was kind of fun that I made. No questions. Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah, go for it.
How long did this take you to set up? What was the trial and error process like for you?
The biggest trial and error process was the prompts, figuring out how to craft a prompt to get the results that you wanted. So a good example of that would be like these headings and then subheadings, or headings with detail, heading, detail, heading, detail. And I can show you the prompt for that. Protection advantages. Each item listed will be presented without numbering as an H3 element in Markdown, because Airtable uses Markdown in their rich text. And then Whalesync automatically converts the Markdown to HTML when it sends it to Webflow. So I needed it in Markdown. Each list item should be briefly explained in a minimum of 40 words, maximum of 60. Benefits of the list will be creative and not include any they keep telling me that like peace of mind was this like great advantage. And I was like, no, that's terrible. So this is what took the most kind of guess and check and tweaking was the prompt. Once you set up like one of these, creating the next, adding on another, if I wanted to add another module for OpenAI, that's not hard at all. That takes 2 seconds, so I could write my prompt right there. The thing I'm about to show you, I did in about probably 25 minutes last night. So let me show you that. I had this idea. I was like, I don't like the content that's being generated. I should do something else. So I was like, what if I created a Mad Lib? And so people could choose could enter in information and then like create a little like Mad Lib story. If you don't know what a Mad Lib is, you like submit information, or you like give me an adjective or give me a noun, give me this. And then it like, you end up with this story, this like completely unique story. So what I did is I said, okay, I'm going to create a Mad Lib and I want to collect someone's age, their gender, I'm going to change the voice of, I spelled that wrong. I'm going to change the voice of, do you want it to be a comedian? Do you want it to be a cartoon character? How do you want the story to come back? And then I started, was like, oh, maybe I'll have an emotion in there. You can choose a story or a joke, then give me an answer. So I just basically built this thing out, and let me show you. So what happens is someone submits a form, and I'll actually share this form in the chat. Someone submits this form. Once it comes in, I have my automation that runs that script that basically just sends my Airtable ID. It's the same exact thing I did before. I'm just sending the Airtable ID to Make. I'll go back and I'll show you my Make. And I called it Mad Libs like this because it's AI. How clever.
What?
So I'm sending the Airtable ID. I'm getting all the information. And then what I'm doing is I'm actually saying, hey, you are now in my example, you're a 39-year-old male. Name a famous cartoon character with a distinct speaking style or cadence that would be well known by people around my age. So I'm creating this, like it's oftentimes comes back with like Dave Chappelle or like Scooby-Doo. And so then what I do is I say, you are acting in the style of Scooby-Doo. Tell me a funny story about an tiger in the jungle eating pizza. I haven't figured out the response length for whatever reason with OpenAI that like totally ignores the response like for some reason. So anyway, and then take that story and send it back to Airtable. And then once it's in Airtable, I created an automation to just send an email with the result. So if you want, I'm going to take this form. You need to put in your email so that you can get your story emailed to you. But this is the, oh, hold on. Here is my, submit that. You'll get a, you'll get your story or your joke or your whatever emailed to you. So, and I asked for a sad story about a dog in outer space, and it was really, really sad.
Oh, no. Well, I mean, all you have to do is base it on a true story if we're talking about that.
Right. So anyway, that was kind of a fun little thing. And then so I was just kind of thinking, I was like, oh, you could, if you have a kid that you're, I don't know, hey, Dustin, I don't know if you're still on. I don't know if you tell bedtime stories.
I am.
But you could use this to to generate a unique bedtime story for tonight. Well, here we go.
Yeah.
Possum Minneapolis just came through. Hot Lou. Oh, you got it. Really likes Dave Chappelle. And then Lou, you should get you'll get an email, but if you don't mind, I'll read it to the audience. What did the possum say after eating Chipotle in Minneapolis? Holy guacamole. Maybe not that funny, but
I don't know, Dustin, what do you think your sons would think? It's pretty good.
Ooh.
I don't know, my oldest has gotten really into Mad Libs, so he'd probably get a kick out of it.
We've got Jaguar in Paris. SpongeBob SquarePants. I haven't seen that one. We're going for a story. The stories can get a little longer. You can see here, so I won't read the whole thing, but you can submit that and get your own story that's completely AI generated. Sloth at Everest Base Camp. Ooh, I like that. So anyway, I'm going to stop sharing and we can go to, let's dig into kind of some of these questions or thoughts. I'm not like an AI expert by any stretch. I've just like knocked my head against the wall enough times to talk about it a little bit. But I know that Hotlu just said something about ChatGPT does a much better job with the content if you push back a little bit or you feed its own content back to it and ask it to improve it with parameters you give it, like use a more authoritative tone or, oh yeah, say it like Kramer and Seinfeld. Yeah, so I think I could have, in Make, what I could have done is had, like, give me content, I take the result, and then I feed it into another prompt. I feed those results into the prompt, and I say, make this have more of authoritative, and I just assume that it's not going to have an authoritative tone. And so you just feed it in there, and you basically.
Well, could you have some kind of like an editorial layout as well, where part of the review system is, you read through and then you can click something like not authoritative enough, and it could, getting a bit complex, but it could sort of automate add a more authoritative prompt to it.
Yeah, that was one of the things that, like, you find these like tips and all this stuff. One of the things where they're talking about building prompts is they're actually like, ask ChatGPT what prompt you should write to get, this kind of content. And then it's like, if you were going to write a prompt to get this, then you should say it like this, and it'll like spit out what your prompt should be. Kind of like, was it Ant or Dustin was saying that you can use ChatGPT to write a Mid-Journey prompt, Same kind of thing. You can ask ChatGPT to write a ChatGPT prompt. So Hot Lou updated his joke. He must have put his joke into ChatGPT. I pushed back and got this punchline about my possum and Chipotle. Well, now I know why I have a pouch. It's for storing antacids after a Minneapolis Chipotle. That's much better. That's much better.
Oh, geez. You know, I feel like, you know, this is normally the time in the presentation with Webflow Minneapolis that Kyle goes, thank you so much for your presentation to our speakers. We're going to open the floor to questions. We're so happy that you came to see this. Generally, this is the point where we evolve or devolve into a general conversation. That's one of his favorite phrases. I'm going to try and take on some of his energies, and thank you profusely for putting this together. I actually really want to share your little AI prompt story joke machine. So I'm gonna, unless you have strong feelings about it, because I think it's really cool and everybody should have their own personalized joke. We did have a question from Adrian in the chat that I think got a little bit buried, just about whether or not Whalesync was needed, and perhaps Connor Finlayson had actually figured out a way to make it go straight from Make over to the Webflow CMS.
So I've done that. And what ends up happening, you can do it. And I do it. I followed a Connor tutorial back when they had Code Meets No Code, I think. He showed how to do it. You got to write scripts. It works. It still works. I still run a lot of our stuff at our agency that way. What I will say is this. It's complex. It's not, well, here, I mean, I could show you. Let me pull it up. 1 second. It's a lot of code, and I probably could refactor it a little bit so that it's,
but it's dealing with the Webflow API, right? So it's figuring out what Webflow needs in order for it to say. And that's the nice thing about Whalesync, is it has done all of that work for you, right? They figured out a way to make it seamless, whereas it can be the API, Webflow's API is not great.
Yeah, the thing that I would say is like, and I gave that example of, if you have rich text field in Airtable and you want to sync a rich text field in Webflow, they're actually stored as two different types of data. And so you can't just be like, oh, send this to that. You actually have to have a step where you convert your markdown to HTML, and then you sync your HTML into Webflow. It's doable. It's possible. It's just Whalesync just handles it. So let me show you my screen here, and I can give you an example of what we're talking about. So here is this is my code for the API, for the Webflow, and I'm, syncing an employee, first name, last name, phonetic spelling, profile. And what happens is we started out with maybe this many fields. And then over time, we're like, oh, we should probably add another field and add another. And then I had to like dip back into the code and be like, oh shoot, what does it want? How did I do that again?
Am I the only person seeing a little bit of a load symbol rather than Kyle's shared screen, or is that just me?
Probably
that's all that. Yeah.
What would help is if I chose the screen to share.
I mean, it hasn't yet. There we go. Okay.
So this is the code. So it's, and I could probably refactor this to bring it down, but it's like, even if you refactor, this is what you're looking at, and there's all this. And this is not to say that Whalesync is great. I actually really, really like Whalesync. I have had situations where I've like hit my head against the wall a little bit because I'm like, oh, I'm trying to do things in my way, not the Whalesync way. And then Whalesync is like, I don't like you. And that's probably a me problem, not a Whalesync problem. But I would say that I banged my head against the wall a lot more writing all this code. And this is just to push one person to a Webflow site. And so it's
yes, possible, not necessarily easy or the best option. But Connor can do it because Connor can do everything.
It's yes possible, and if you don't want to pay for Whalesync, then I would do it if it was like a small thing where it's like I just need to like quick send this. I just need to do like one or two things and like I need to send that off. That's what I do. What's gonna end up happening is you're also gonna in Airtable, you're gonna end up having to automate. You're gonna have to set up your automations to trigger at the right time to send that data. If you want it to happen automatically, you got to set up your triggers based on views or conditions that's going to automatically then send, and then automatically pull it down if it changes. So you're building all that out as well. And what I did is I chose to just do it with a button. So I've got a button to sync it up, and I've got a button to pull it down.
Question from Nimesh, which is echoing a question that I actually already had. So thank you, Nimesh, for putting this top of mind. But yeah, have you tried using this with Midjourney? Can we use these prompts to generate images and push them into Webflow image CMS spaces?
I don't know if Midjourney has an API. What I would do, they must to some. Let me see. Let me look in Make right now. You guys can see you can see what I'm seeing.
Can't yet. Might be there. Okay, cool.
So does Midjourney? Yeah, I don't think Midjourney. So the way that Midjourney works is you do it all through Discord. If people aren't familiar with that, let me see if I can. I do that. Let me see if I can do. Discord is what I want. So here is. Can I just like I'm like the worst Discord person ever.
I actually have this problem with Discord all the time. I think it's frustrating.
Log in with a QR. I think. Hold on.
Well, quick question as well, just while the logging in is happening. Does anyone else know of image generating AI tools other than Midjourney right now? That they've used or tried?
Did Dustin have one?
He had to put his kid to bed, so he may not be present.
There are more. I don't know them offhand, but there are more. So here's how Midjourney works. Oh, if anyone wants to know, I own Crypto Poops. I've never opened my Crypto Poop up, but back when NFTs were a thing, I was like, I'll buy a Crypto Poop. I have no idea what they are. Anyway, I hope you're all laughing. I didn't hear any rim shot sound effects, but so we can go. Midjourney's like this. Thank you. So with Midjourney, you go, and you have to pay for this too, but you can go, imagine, shout it out. Someone give me a prompt.
Crypto poop.
Ooh,
Too tough for this one? Okay.
It's not gonna be too tough. I'm just.
All right, let's go with a cat then.
A cat?
Sure.
Okay. Doing what?
Riding a bicycle.
A cat.
Three-eyed cat.
Okay. Yeah. Three-eyed cat riding a bicycle.
Anyone else have strong feelings about this imaginary image before we generate?
An orange cat.
Three-eyed Orange. I have an idea. Orange cat riding a bicycle and chasing a mouse
Through
I
the
think
forest.
through a forest. Then we have you can do things like ultra realistic. This is so then they have like other things that you can like stack on. You can be like ultra realistic, 4K, and then they do things like let's see what some of these. They'll be like, we could check. They do one that's like cinematic lighting. There we go. Try that. So now what happens is our prompt right here sits here for a second while all these other prompts are also getting generated. And as it's waiting to start, you basically just, it takes a minute or so, and you'll see the percentage that it's completed, and it'll kind of jump up. And now this goes back to the whole question. Is that sculpture of Michelangelo in the Vatican? There is no API on this, I don't believe. So I don't think you could use this to create an image, automated image. I saw someone the other day though. I thought this was really creative. Someone was creating like images that were for coloring books. You could clearly tell that they were for coloring books. They were like outline drawing, and then they were doing all these like farm animals. So now we come down here, and now the cat doesn't have 3 eyes. Unfortunately. It's orange. It's riding a bike. I don't see a mouse.
Yeah, I don't see a mouse.
But so then what you can do is you can say, give me variations. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4. So give me variations on one of these. So let's say I really liked 2. I could say, give me variations on 2. And then these U are like upsize, or like it makes it larger. And so when you have one that you like, you go, give me that upsized. And they just came out with a new version of their model, I guess you'd say, that allows you to do like zoom in, zoom out after it's been created. So here's our variations on number 2 that are generating. Kind of. You can also, another thing you can do, so you can actually, let me show you this here. So you can get a variation of one image. You could say like vary it a lot, vary it a little, zoom out, custom zoom. So if we really liked, oh, he's got like a back. I like that. Oh, I like the backpack here too. What a cute cat, man. I like number 1. Let's go number 1. We're going to upsize number 1. Upscaling. So now if I go like this, oh, hold on. I think if I visit on the web, can I do that? What's going on?
Maybe that's just the load intro.
As you can tell, I do this a lot. I basically, oh, there we go. Open in browser. That's what we wanted.
Mm-hmm.
Look at that. Holy cow.
Okay, it's actually really cute.
Isn't it? We need a new mascot for our meetup. Here, I'll send you guys the link and you guys can all.
Thanks, Kyle.
Mark Zuckerberg versus Elon Musk in a cage match using sparks as weapons. Let's do it.
I think it's sporks.
Sporks? Is that what it said?
Yeah,
Sporks.
like on an airplane
Yep.
when you get a fork and a spoon in the same utensil.
We want it 4K too, don't we? Let's see what
Yeah,
comes
we
up here. So this was what someone was doing. They were like creating a. This is more detailed, but you can see here someone was. If you think this, it doesn't like our AI moderators feel your prompt might be against our community standards. Lou, whose first prompt is against it, but this one's not against standards. Look at that! Holy cow. Wow.
So maybe we should go back to your flow, Kyle, because I feel like I still have intrigue over the process. I mean, far be it from me to stop us from creating images in Midjourney if we feel like that's the way to go.
Which part of the flow?
Well, here's my question. We know that in the end, what it is that you think would best improve this is generative AI having better answers, essentially, or better input to be able to get high-level insurance information. Are there any other aspects of this like flow that you felt were problematic? Anything that you felt is ripe for improvement, or somebody to just slot in and do a nice job to kind of make this a bit slicker? I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Honestly, it was one of those projects that you work on and you go, you like get a partway through and you're like, oh, that's really, really cool. And then you get further on and it's like, that's really, and it's like motivating to keep pushing it a little further. And when I got to the point, I was like, I should create an interface in Airtable so that all of this is really easy to digest and understand other people. So I actually thought that by the end, the fact that we were pretty close to going from like industry name to content in 1 minute, I thought that was super slick. And I would have built 300 pages if the content didn't sound like it was from a middle schooler. It didn't have the depth of a middle school answer. If it sounded like a senior in high school, I probably would have even used that. The only other thing that I'd say is that, and I don't know if anyone else has had experience like this with AI, but I think the dream of AI is that it's just going to do it all for you. And in my experience, there's always a human touch that is required to get it through the finish line. And I was pleased that we could, even if someone reviewed all the content and like, let's say that it got it to a high school point, I'd still want a human to go through and check it all. I wouldn't trust it enough to go straight to the web, but I'd have a human check it, and we would still go from a page in, it might not be a minute, but it might be 5 minutes. And that is still, to me, that's really impressive considering all of the stuff that's on the page. But I just don't see a point yet where generative AI, especially for specialized content, is to the point where you can just trust it wholesale. There's a heavier than expected involvement with humans has been my experience.
I actually had I had an experience recently where I was putting into ChatGPT, can you put, I pasted a list just from a website and I said, can you turn this into a table with the names on the left and the information on the right? And a couple of times it just got it wrong. Like the list would be maybe 20 listed items. And then it would come back with a table that had like 3 incorrect items in. And what I put back into ChatGPT was, I think this is wrong. Could you try again? And then it did. It apologized to me.
Yes.
Did, and it got it right. So I was like, what exactly is going on here that's making this have those kinds of hiccups? I mean, I have absolutely no idea, but yeah, no, it needs a look.
Yeah. The only other thing I'd say is that, like, looking at all these tools are kind of putting in AI where they can. Adrian just said that he tried the Notion AI, and he said the results were 98% of what he wrote with only minor changes. Now, Adrian, that could be because you have great writing style and technique and grammar, and there wasn't much to correct. But Airtable, here you go. Sorry to keep turning my screen off and on. Problem is when I show my screen, I can't see you guys. So Airtable talked about creating AI and adding it to them. So Airtable could eventually turn this in to a process that's almost just this, right? You could maybe, unfortunately, their page designer doesn't. Well, you'd still have to trigger for the open graph image, but if you were just looking for content, Airtable could maybe eventually do all these things, including that, because they're basically eventually going to allow you to have a field that is an AI field. So this will all get much simpler once Airtable, or could get much simpler once Airtable rolls out AI into their tool.
Can we see your open graph image process?
Oh, can you?
That's the image element here that I am intrigued about.
So let me pull it up. We use a tool called Formstack. Let me just log into Formstack quick. I have yeah, go ahead.
As far as your make scenario, I think you can download the blueprint to share because it's just JSON. It's just a JSON document. I think you can just export the blueprint if you wanted to share the default one or whatever.
Okay. Can I? Do you want the? Probably want the big one. How do I? Do you know how to download the blueprint?
Yeah. So to export the blueprint, right beside the airplane icon, the 3 dots, there's an export blueprint.
Woo! I wonder if I can put that in the chat. Can I upload a file? Will they take files into the?
I don't know if they take JSON files, but maybe.
Boom! There you go. Awesome. Jeremy to the rescue. Okay, just logging into Formstack.
Give her a go.
Okay. Inside of Formstack, this is actually a really easy Formstack document that we're creating, which is going to be good because we've got this thing called an industry open graph image. And literally all it is, I build these in, I built this one in PowerPoint because I wanted to kind of place things on the page. And so I just built this really simple PowerPoint, and this thing here is called a merge tag. It can be literally whatever you want. And so ours was, I called it industry name. And then basically inside, I've got this document here is called industry open graph image. And inside my make scenario, I've chosen industry open graph image as my document. So I've had to link up to Formstack documents. I choose my industry open graph image, and then any merge tags that I have in that document will be listed here. I only have one. And so I'm bringing in the industry name from this Airtable record. And so it's feeding it in. And when this is generated, when that gets hit, the document gets hit, the industry name is added, I am saving this. The output is a JPEG. And so even though it's a PowerPoint to start, I send that industry name. The output is a JPEG. And then I take that resulting file and I put it back in to the SEO Open Graph image part. That was figuring this out was a little head scratching because it was like, wasn't totally straight. It wasn't just like, oh, put the file here. I had to get the URL and the name and all the stuff. But that's the process. The other one that might be beneficial to people is I'll do it on my Mad Libs, my Made Libs. This little thing to run my script. So let me just give you guys this. And then the only other thing you need to do is that when you add an input if you're in Airtable, you add an input variable called record ID, and you map it up with the Airtable record ID from the first step. But those two lines of code will, and I'm going to paste this into here. Those 2 lines of code will basically send your data to Make. And when you're in Make, if you go and you create a new, if I create a new scenario, let's do it here. Create a new scenario. And I do webhook. Shout out to Connor, who showed me how to do this as well, or one of his videos showed me how to do this. I'm going to create a custom webhook. I'm going to create the webhook. I'm going to call this Twin Cities Webflow. Are we Minneapolis? We're Minneapolis Webflow. Webflow Minneapolis.
Yeah, look at your jumper.
That's not Webflow Minneapolis test. So this is my test webhook. I'm going to save it. And now it gives me that URL right there. So I'm going to copy that to the address board or to my, and then basically in that code that I sent, I just paste that right in there. And then what ends up happening is you come through. I've got this. I pasted it in. I've added my record ID and the value, and then I'm gonna come over to Make, and I'm gonna say, okay, and I'm gonna say run this module only. And now it's listening. It's listening for someone to ping it. And when you come back over here to Airtable and you've pasted your thing in, you've grabbed your test record from the step before, all the stuff, and you hit test, what's going to happen, I didn't update this webhook, but what's going to happen is you're going to test it. It's going to ping this webhook, and this will stop running. And you'll see there'll be like a little 1. It'll be like a little 1 up here, and you can click that, and you can see what came through. You can see the data, and now you know it worked. And the thing that came through is just the Airtable ID. And then what you're going to do is you're going to add the Airtable step, and you're going to say, get a record. And it's going to retrieve a single record by its ID. You're going to get a record. You're going to link it up with your base. So this is going to be, have one? Oh, whatever, doesn't matter. I'm going to sync it up with your base, and then you're going to put the record ID from the previous step. So since I didn't run this, I don't have a record ID from this previous step, but you're just going to pass that in there. And then what you've effectively done is you've allowed Make to go into Airtable and grab all the data out of that Airtable record. And then you can do whatever you want with it. Like check out all the junk that you can do. You know, these are all the things.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And you can use the data from previous steps. So like Clockify, I don't even know what Clockify is. You can add a task. So I'm assuming you could like add a client, and then it could be from data from the Airtable step. So that's what I did. I came in here and I said Midjourney, and I looked for Midjourney, and there was nothing that came up. And that's why I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to be able to figure that out. So another one would be, I bet there's like, there's for sure a Notion, you know, so I could sync up Airtable and Notion. There's probably like a Coda, you know, or maybe there's Outseta. You know, you can hook up to all these. MemberStack, that's another one. Stack, Formstack, MailChimp.
Is there like is there 1-2 people kind of known within the Webflow no-code community for being like the king/queen of custom webhooks?
I saw somebody in Twitter today they were talking about tech stacks, and her name was Olivia something, and she said she was an Airtable Zapier make expert, and automations is all she does, and she hooks them up to Webflow and WordPress. Let me see if I can't find her.
Yeah, I just wondered if there were like kind of big players who are kind of owning that space as the people who know about that kind of thing. But if they're not super obvious now, I bet in a few years it'll be an independent job role. So,
You know,
Olivia Look is her name.
hmm.
And let's see, she's at, I'll drop her handle in the thing
Yeah.
because it's not quite her name.
It is an interesting space, though. I mean, I think that's kind of where I've been headed. I mean, you find yourself going there more for app building and stuff like that, is like trying to, because Make is doing the same thing that you're doing in Xano or other things, where you're basically building APIs and you're just doing it in a visual way and linking things and linking functions and stuff together, right? It's just a different way of doing it. Like makes fantastic for it. I think more people I've seen have moved away from Zapier and stuff like that to like go to the Make end of things. I find it way easier to understand and like deal with. And
which one?
I've had to go Make, like way easier to. I mean, I haven't done much in Make lately. And Kyle, I just imported the blueprint. It works beautiful. The import works beautifully.
Nice. So now do you have all my API keys and everything?
No, so it empties everything out of any of that kind of stuff, and then you have to like set up your own webhooks and all of that kind of stuff. So
nice.
Yeah.
The thing that and we've talked about this before on here, Zapier to me feels like if you blow on it, it's going to fall over. And I haven't felt that way with Make. The other thing that Make can do is they've got, and maybe Zapier can do this now, but like Make can, like, you can route things, you can like error handle. So it's like, oh, this one errored out. What should I do? Oh, we'll go. And I'm not good on Make to like do all this, but I know you can. So you can effectively like visually program a whole workflow and scenario that is going to do error handling and exceptions. And, you know, it's going to like, it'll like handle your corner cases that you're like, oh, you know, so that's the thing that's encouraging about Make to me, relative to Zapier.
Yeah, the error handling is great, and then I mean you can send it to your Slack, or you send those notifications and whatnot to Slack or wherever, so you know that something's broken, so that, or something something has gone wrong.
Mhm.
But I've also found with Make, most of the time it just runs. Like you just don't have to. You don't even really think about it after you've kind of set it up and got it to where you need it to go, which is a nice feature about Make.
So my idea, and I don't know how to do it full circle, is you build a website, you have a page on a Webflow page, you have a form on a Webflow page that people can fill out, right? And it's like, and we create bedtime stories for parents. So you see your kid, you've got 10 animals, and you tap the animal, and then the next one comes up, and it's like, now choose, put in your name, and then you put in your child's name, and then maybe you put in a second name, which is like the other child or a friend or whatever, and then and so you go through a few steps, and then you generate a bedtime story, which could totally be done based on what I just did there. My question is, and what I don't know, and maybe this is like a whizzed thing that has to happen, is how do you submit it, get the little spinning wheel that it's generating the story, and then display the story on the screen instead of, hey, I'm going to email you a story? I don't know how to live update a Webflow site with data that's just been fed in to an Airtable base or a Xano. Is it possible?
Yes. Yeah. So you could. So Wiz is like the middleware for that kind of stuff. There's different ways of doing it. Wiz is one of the more no-code, super low-code kind of ways of being able to handle it, just by using attributes, and then you're matching up. Basically, you're taking your fields from your Airtable or from your Xano, whatever your database is, and then you're populating those fields that you've said are the attributes you want, with what the whatever the title, the same kind of thing. You're mapping your fields to it using attributes, and then it will push that live.
And without a refresh?
Most of them are requiring a bit of some sort of refresh, at least on the data refresh, because depending on what you have, there's ways of doing it. It's kind of clunky as far as just the user experience of it right now. You got to kind of put loaders in place and different things you're just hiding the data until it populates, kind of thing. So you could basically do that with a loader, and have it blank to start with, and then when it has the data to populate it into place,
you hide the loader and show the data.
Yeah.
Bedtime story. That's my app, or it's our app. I haven't done anything with it.
I think the first story should be about the Webflow Minneapolis cat.
Oh yeah, God, that was a cute cat, wasn't it? He's
Did you
like,
put that in the chat? Because I actually really want.
Yeah, it's up there. It's the Discord. So when you sign up for Discord, they give you a random name, and the random name they gave me was Tommy Orlando, and I loved it, and so I just kept it, and so now I'm Tommy Orlando on Discord.
That's hilarious.
What how does FinSuite's Noble app compare to Whalesync? Has anyone checked out Noble? I did a video on Noble a year or two ago. Well, there you go. Well, Jeremy, Noble never got finished. It always felt like it was in beta.
Very true. We talked about Noble. We talked about it. It came up in these kinds of scenarios multiple times over the last, year or two of these virtual sessions going on. And it was always was a little bit on the fence about it. Like, it's okay, however, it works, however. And that's where the story ends, apparently.
Well, and they've moved away from it. So like it's not actively in development. They've got so many other things that they're working on at FinSuite with Wiz and everything else that they kind of pushed the development back for it. And will they go back? I don't know. Like with something as good as Whalesync out there, the question becomes whether the need is there or not, and whether they're going to get the market for it, because I know they do want to. I think eventually would want to charge for that, that app. So,
but the price point might be the big difference there, because the last I checked in on Whalesync, and we had the Whalesync people come and talk to us for one of these Webflow Minneapolis meetups one time. It was maybe about 6 months to a year ago, and it was kind of an early adopter stage, and I think it was something like $10-15 to sign up, and then they pushed that up a lot. And the last time I checked, I was like, ooh.
What is it now?
Is it like $49 or something like that?
Last I looked, it was $50, and I remember being like, let's put that into a category where I'd really think about whether or not I wanted to use that for a small project at that point,
So we are like at my job, I was like, this is going to save me time. I'm like, I could sit here and write all these things for 3 hours. And what is 3 hours of my time worth to and so that's how I justify it. And actually what I would say is that, I just this morning, I had something that someone in our IT wanted to push some stuff. They wanted to manage something in Airtable and push it live to our little internal intranet. And if I would have written that myself, I would have copy pasted code. I would have to do all this stuff. I would have tested out. It would have taken me 2 to 3 hours. I had it done in Whalesync in 15 minutes. And so that when you think about what your time is worth, you can do it all for free. Absolutely. It'll take you time, but you can do it for free. Whalesync, I think the justification for Whalesync is that it will just save you a lot of time. And if you could spend 2.5 hours doing something else, is that worth, what's your time worth? I want to show my screen because Dustin just chimed in with his ChatGPT plugin prompt to create an image in Midjourney. So we're going to try this live. We're doing it live. This is a Webflow Minneapolis. Play us out. If anyone knows that. I think Jeremy knows that.
Vibrant and glowing under the sunlight, riding a sleek chrome motorcycle. Ooh, a motorcycle. It's been upgraded.
Wait, before you submit that, recopy it. I updated it. It'll error out if you do that because there's no style parameter. There was a few missing things, so recopy it.
So
smooth like butter.
So
just above you there.
Okay.
I don't know what that second part is there.
Imagine. Okay. Here we go. Did you do 3-eyed? I didn't even read it.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Oh, you did the 3-eyed cat.
It's funny though. When I ran it through mine, it didn't do a 3-eyed either. The cats that generated on mine still have 2.
So what did you do to get this prompt? I know you said, there's a plugin in ChatGPT. I don't even know what that means. Like you went to ChatGPT and just like clicked a button and it was like, yep, I want to add this. And then
so you have to go into their like little marketplace and find it. Let's see.
Oh, he's on like a crotch rocket.
And I know there's 3-eyed cats out there that they could steal from.
Certainly should be.
He's at a little. We're going to see it here soon. But
Do you pay for Midjourney, Kyle, or no?
I was like, I gotta check this out. So I paid the $10 and I think I paid one time or whatever. I think
So
it's
if
like
you
$10.
have a current account, you can do it directly with the Midjourney bot, or is that what this is?
I'm in Midjourney right now.
You're in the noobs channel though. You can do it directly with the bot, so you don't have to scroll through everyone else's stuff.
Oh, can you teach me how to do? Well, look at that guy.
Whoa.
That's a cat-sized motorcycle. Look at how real.
Yeah, they do not want to give cats 3 eyes though, do they?
They also don't want to add this mouse in.
Yeah, they're ignoring the mouse. That's weird.
And it was so specifically mentioned. It's small, it's agile, it's darting across the road ahead. A blur of gray and white. Oh, maybe they do have a blur of gray and white.
Right, yeah.
Mm.
This one, he's impaled by the other.
I know, it's just missing the other one.
So, Dustin, what are you saying? You don't have to be a newbies. You can just do what?
Say that again? Oh yeah. There's a so when you first, if you're using a paid account, you
Yep.
should be able to do a direct chat with the Midjourney bot. So click on the Discord logo in your top left. And do you have Midjourney bot? So send them right through here and you don't have to sift through everybody else's stuff.
Oh,
Amazing.
Because that's one of the most annoying things about the free one is you submit it, but if there's a bunch of other people doing it too, then you have to go find it once everything's refreshed.
Mhm.
So if you're paying for it though, you get a direct chat with the Midjourney bot.
High resolution, 16K camera, wide angle lens.
I'm just gonna do, and I'm gonna. So, what did you put in to get this prompt?
So what I had put in was just I had sent it to you. It was my input was created image of a 3-eyed orange cat on a motorcycle chasing a mouse, and that's everything it created. Added in all the different parameters and all that kind of stuff.
Kyle, can we just, for curiosity's sake, could we just put the prompt in cat with 3 eyes and see
Into Midjourney.
into Midjourney? Can we see?
I think our first prompt was definitely cute.
I mean, I didn't have a problem with the original, I have to say.
So you're saying, imagine,
Yeah, that cat could be a character in Goonies.
right? Matt, what did you say, Rachel?
A cat with 3 eyes. I want to see if we get straight to the point, nothing to distract it, whether it's going to actually give us what we're looking for here, or whether this is actually just something.
4K. I wanted 4K. So is it now waiting? Am I in the queue with everyone else, or
If you are paying, you have so many. I think you get so many what they call fast hours or whatever, and so you get in there with. I think you get priority over it, but there's like a certain level of like high GPU hours that if you're going to like generate something specific and you need a lot of GPU, you can signify it or whatever, and then it uses up more of your allotted time. I don't know exactly how it works, but
I wonder
when
if
I did that, I got cats with like 6 eyes.
You did?
Yeah.
I wonder if my 4K threw it off. Okay, I'm gonna try it without. Sorry, we've kind of. Sarah, you came here for a Webflow chat, and we're talking.
It works.
I'm totally okay with this. Love it.
Sarah's on the edge of her seat. We need to figure this out.
Whoa, what's going on with this cat? He's like Gamora.
It's like the Avatar cat.
This cat's outside in the rain, looking all sad.
It's pretty cute.
This is also this cat is riding on the back of our other cat's bike.
We can.
Oh, here's a 3-eared cat. It does not like.
Nah, your Midjourney is making a stance here. You are not getting this.
No. Oh, this one's got it. It's coming in. No, he's got like 8 eyes. You can't do 3. The 3-eyed raven.
Yeah, your one. Ooh, your one's weird, Dustin.
Oh
I
wait,
know, right?
I didn't get to see Dustin's.
He put it in the chat. It's like it almost looks like a solar system of additional eyes.
Wow.
It's like Zen, like chakra looking stuff. Oh, I like that top right
Only
one.
way that they can try and make this work.
Wow, dude, Midjourney's so cool.
I love Midjourney. It is
I
fun.
wish I had a reason to use it, and all I do is sit and try to make pictures of three-eyed cats, but I have no reason to use it.
Unsuccessfully, have you?
I'm telling you, when I saw someone making the coloring book, when there was someone making the little outlines for a coloring book of little farm animals, I was like, that right there is very compelling. Like that person did 25 prompts into Midjourney, downloaded them, put them on a book, probably even made the cover of a book, and now you've got like a little product that that's like, it was crazy. Wow, mine were really weird. Or was that yours? No, mine, like,
I like yours. That the top two on yours look really cool.
Yeah, the bottom left one's a bit
brainy.
disturbing. Like an odd note to finish this meetup on. I don't know.
Ooh. What I wonder, does Midjourney go to the internet and like if we were to say, imagine like, could we imagine, well, actually I tried this. I think Lou kind of got to this. Could you use it to build a web page? So to bring this full circle, let's try it.
I know I've seen some AI tools out there that basically build you a web page. I can't remember what they're called, but they're interesting.
Imagine what kind of a web page? Oh, we're building a web page for a bedtime story, a web page for a site that creates bedtime stories using AI. Bedtime stories for children.
Precocious children.
Precocious. I'm gonna test my spelling. Whoa, hold on. How do you spell it? Precocious?
You suggested it. You got to spell it.
Well, let's see how Midjourney handles that. Web page for a site that generates. What's our vibe? What's the aesthetic of our website?
Something like Lemony Snicket's type of
Ooh, I like it. I don't know how to describe that other than using Lemony Snickets, and I don't know how to spell Lemony Snickets. So,
yeah, it's LEMONYSNICKETS, I think. But I have seen prompts on Midjourney where they specify an artist or several artists in their style comments.
Is that Lemony Snickets? I have an aesthetic like Lemony Snickets and a quirky aesthetic like Lemony Snickets. Let's do a home page. The site is called Bedtime Stories. right, let's see. Anything else we want to add? 3, 2, here we go.
Oh, I was wondering if we needed a brand color, but we'll see what happens.
So, oh, these are all JPEGs or PNGs. We couldn't take this and turn it right into Figma and then go Figma to Webflow.
Well, I do wonder though, like, how would build out a visual web page outline for a web page that's talking about this, this, and this for this audience for this reason. CTA would be at the bottom saying this. Headline needs to be prominent. I don't know. Would Midjourney as a visual tool be the one to give that a go on, or because
It's more ChatGPT, right?
it wouldn't create like a visual mock-up ChatGPT, would it?
You could create the HTML for it though, like because it would create the code and stuff for it. And then I wonder if you would need to combine it, like pull, almost multiple prompts or something, or build it and make like you did, Kyle, where it was like pulling Midjourney here to,
What is happening there?
Look at this kid. He's got one head.
Bad dream.
That is probably closest to the prompt, though.
Yeah. This one looks like a bad dream, too. Like monsters in your bed.
Yeah, look at the
Got
pillow.
all your orange cats. Do they have 3 eyes or just 2?
Yeah. This one's, that's a nose. Yeah. Little gremlins. Okay.
This is not terrible.
Should we get a variation on number 4?
Yeah.
Wow. So then you slice it up and you do it all in sprites, right? Nerd joke. I do like the aesthetic of these, man. I mean, it's cool. Like okay, let's be honest. If you went to a designer and you said, give me a visual aesthetic on a web page, and they're like, okay, yeah, I threw together a few ideas, or like here's one direction, and they came back and these were I feel like I'd go, wow, like that's really, look at the illustrations here, like that's really good work. Like I might wonder why there's a severed head in the bed, but
You might.
Details.
I mean, what's our strongest one here?
I feel like the bottom left.
I'm kind of feeling bottom left.
Yeah,
Okay,
there doesn't
now
seem to be anybody in the bed in 2 or 4.
The kid was kidnapped.
Yeah, there's a monster underneath the bed.
There's a monster underneath
already.
And this kid's like, wait, I just read a very scary story. Okay, so we're going to go up on 3. I mean, it's really not bad. I'll put this in the...
Yeah, it's got a full moon. It's got bats. That's a little dark and scary. You gotta...
the thing is, when you start really digging into these things, you're like, wait, what's going on with his face? That was, ooh, what do we got here? How do I install and use a photorealistic on ChatGPT website?
That's the instructions on how to install the plugin if you wanted to try it out.
Yeah.
Like, this is the coloring that I'm talking about.
Okay.
It was this kind of stuff, except it was like baby animals in the farm.
Mm. I thought Dustin was planning a tattoo.
I don't think I've got a whole folder of tattoo designs from Midjourney.
Really?
Yeah, I've been working on a tattoo to
Um,
cover up the one I've got, and I'm trying to use Midjourney to come up with something cool.
Is it this one?
It is that one actually.
Actually,
I added it to my
I actually really hope it's this one right here. How cool is that? I
There
mean,
is something about this image that is just perfect.
I want to watch this movie is what it is.
Like, where's he going? You know, why did he leave? Looks like he's filled with purpose.
I love this little, he's like,
It's got a little quill.
yeah. Look at his handkerchief around his neck.
Artistic license on the part of Midjourney. This cat sounds like he needs a backpack and a handkerchief.
But wouldn't it be cool if
This is wild. So I don't know the other tools. I've seen ones, yeah, that you can like design a website.
I think it would make a lot of sense to have an AI tool that was geared around the fundamentals of like web page infrastructure and UX, so that you could put things in like, this is who I'm talking to, this is the customer base, this is the primary action I'm looking for them to achieve, this is the thing I want them to take away from it. I need the branding to say sophisticated but whimsical, and to have something, you know, just to create like Midjourney, like 4 options, like, is this hitting the spot? And have it kind of like be abiding by the rules of good web markup etiquette.
Yeah.
Good UI, good UX. You know, there's plenty of those rules around. They teach them. They have courses on them. So it must be downloadable in some way or form.
I'm going to see if I can get a logo out of this.
it's tough because Midjourney likes to create art. So getting logos can be tough. I think you have to get pretty specific with limitations and rules and stuff like that.
You know of like any sort of plugins or anything that might be able to generate a prompt that would give me specific criteria for Midjourney that could possibly?
I haven't tried it with photorealistic, but I mean, I'm sure there's something out there. I don't know specifically, but.
Well, could you throw it in yours and like see what the prompt would be for a logo?
Yeah, what did you type in there? I missed it.
There. Hotlu. Now.sites claims they can do this. Ooh, Dustin's got, is that one of your tattoos?
Yeah, that's from my tattoo folder.
Easiest marketing system ever. It's the first online marketing system to fully integrate the latest AI. That means websites, emails, social posts, blogs, and more, all written for you in seconds by. Lou, is this your company? Because didn't you say you're basically doing this kind of stuff? Lou's like watching a movie with his family or something.
No, it's not my site. My site's Evergreen.
Evergreen.
Yeah, evergreen.app. The Now site is just a colleague turned me on to it. I use they've got this AI tool that's amazing for lead generation, where you can just type in the industry that you want, and it just spits out people. And it's got an AI tool behind it that does a bunch of like character analysis on the people. And Andy, if you're still on, it doesn't look like you are. I did it once for Brandon Mattis, the guy who referred me to this meetup.
Yeah.
And it nailed it. It told me all these different things about him, and like how to if you're going to email him cold, and how to appeal to his sensibilities and values. And
Shut up.
and it was like 90% accurate, and it'll generate some copy and stuff. So like they're working on like all this like website generation stuff, and I'm like, you are burying the amazing part of your company. And it will actually send out the emails from the tool. And I don't know, I got a referral code, so it's only $50 a month. So I've been using that to send out messages to test different copy, to just cold email to people. But anyway, their CEO has been obviously trying to integrate all their AI tools into everything, and one of them has been like a one-click landing page thing that they've been promoting for like 2-3 months now, and they launched it like, I don't know, a couple weeks ago. I just haven't tried it out yet, but they have for a long time had like a one-click landing page creation that, you know, looked super generic, and I didn't really try it out. Or I tried it out, but it was so generic that it was like,
This isn't doing anything.
yeah, it was like, you know, one of these $9 WordPress themes that you buy, you know. But this AI tool claims to, you know, when you put in like an industry and like a target market, it's supposed to put a landing page together for you that then you can try to send traffic to and generate leads.
Wow.
Yeah, it seems like an awesome tool. I just, you know, I'm sitting here learning about 17 tools that you just taught me about, and it's like every day.
Isn't that the truth? That's the hardest thing, is like figuring out which ones where to focus.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I spent 3 weeks last month building a fantasy sports platform just for fun, using Chat GPT to tell me how to code it all.
No way.
Yeah, it was pretty wild.
What'd you build it in?
Django and Python.
Yep.
Years and years ago, I built a fantasy sports platform for Ultimate Frisbee, and I built it with a team that I spent. You know, I had 3 full-time, really talented full stack developers building it for me, and it took them like 9 months to build a proof of concept. And with ChatGPT, I hadn't written any code in about 14 years, and I don't know Python or Django. And I built it in DigitalOcean to host it, and I got a proof of concept done in about 2 weeks. That's how powerful ChatGPT is.
Wow. A fantasy ultimate frisbee, like there's a professional league and you choose the players and like what I'm thinking. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, if you want to write code, or if you ever need to debug stuff, it's if you can just let it loose, it's ChatGPT is insanely powerful.
That's awesome. Did you send through a prompt for the logo?
Yeah.
He went one further. He sent you a logo.
Oh wow! Is this
they look pretty similar to the ones that you just generated, though, to be honest. But
no, these are a bit more simplistic, a bit more logo.
That's what this prompt generated for me. If you did it, I'm sure it would be similar, but different. But my only thing with this, though, is like, especially with creating logos, is it can, these look nice, but they're not. None of them are going to be vector, which would be really that's what I'd like to see, is some image generation that vector or an SVG or something.
You've got a great point there,
especially when it comes to logos.
Yeah, but it took 30 seconds to get these as baselines to work from. So again, we're talking about, okay, well, what if designers were the ones actually doing this exercise, and they got 5 different variations, and then they went and played around in the vectors, made them.
Yeah, these are awesome concepts, and there's an awesome tool company out of Brazil called the Netman Corp that I've used for like 20 logos. They'll do a logo for you for like $149 with unlimited revisions.
Wow.
And they'll even they'll do a full like brand identity or corporate identity for you for like $390 or something. I think it's the netmencorp.com.
Netmen Corp?
I put it in the chat, the Netmen Corps. I had a typo here. Let me type it again. The Netmen Corp.com.
Hey.
Yep, there it is. They do all kinds of brand stuff for dirt cheap, and all their stuff is unlimited revisions. So if if you had a concept like this where you could ship it to them, they would very easily build like a full corporate identity for you for like, I'm sure for like $200.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't know. Whenever I do corporate identity stuff on like 99 Designs or any of these companies, if you don't give them a ton of direction, they just ship off something super generic to you. But I could see you like putting a concept together with Midjourney like this and asking them to make more vector art, like brandable logo kind of stuff.
All of these, I've noticed all mine are based in Turkey. With the, isn't this like the Turkish flag with the like the crescent moon and the star?
Yeah, looks like it.
Like I'm kind of inspired to just like, what if you were to just be like, what can I do in an afternoon? And you,
One of the things that there's an AI channel that, a YouTube channel that's just businesses around AI. And one of the cool ones has been Etsy art prints. So like they just put together like Etsy art that, and prints that people would hang in their like bathroom. And it's all like this simple art. And, it's not quite live, laugh, love, but
it's not worth hanging in my bathroom.
Yeah, but there's all kinds of them that are just selling like $3 prints, and tons of these Etsy stores have like $300,000 in sales in a year.
So you think that they're just using AI to say, I'm gonna make the art and then I'm gonna print it on demand, and
yeah, and they're trying to analyze what people are searching for those kind of print works type things. So they're trying to hit popular search terms, and they're just putting the image up and putting out hundreds of them a day, and hopefully they'll get $1,000 worth of orders every single day by casting the net wide.
And they use a tool like Printful or something that is just they're having someone else print it on demand.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's happening on the background, but the YouTube channel that was analyzing them was finding a bunch of these stores that are doing exactly that on Etsy. I don't know how they're doing fulfillment, but
yeah, it's usually something like Printify. It's just a print on demand. There's never any inventory. The seller doesn't have to do anything. They link it up to that. They put the designs up, and it passively makes them money after they've done it.
How soulless.
How genius.
both can be true.
I'm sitting here like genius, genius, genius.
Yeah.
This has been a fantastic conversation. I'm getting close to being ready to hit the sack. Not that I want to kick anyone out. I thought I was going to get one of what do we think of butter? Give me a reaction. Hold on. Let me see if I can get a template.
I'm pretty unoffended by it.
It's okay on mobile, but none of the links are copyable in the chat. Nothing's like copyable in the chat, so that made it a little.
In the mobile chat?
Yeah, in the mobile app.
Can you follow the links? You just can't.
Yeah, I can open them, but I can't see the full URL, and I can't copy them.
Oh, we should actually pass that along.
Because when I press and hold on them, it just opens it up. It doesn't copy, and then there's no button within the web page to share it.
Okay.
I want to know. Let's see. We're going to check in. This is just one. What did you think of butter? Blue is good, red is bad. Ignore the text. Ooh, Dustin, you took mine. I think we're all there.
I don't think we had any problems with this platform.
No.
Everyone got in, which is great, because when we tried to use Google Meet, it just refused to let people into the meeting, which I feel was like a very basic problem you don't want to have when you host events.
Right. Google awful.
I kind of like that it's really colorful. I kind of like my avatar that has a little goatee that I did not add to it consciously, but apparently is now part of my Webflow Minneapolis persona.
I tried to make an avatar on Midjourney, and I couldn't get it. It couldn't get it right.
Did it give you like not the right amount of eyes?
No, like
That was
three
good.
eyes.
Kyle, are you aware that you can give it a base photo to start from?
I did that too.
Okay. Because that's it gives you weird results, but apparently if you work with it, you can do interesting things. Our designer was trying to create some stock photos of a owner of a company, but he died. He's not around anymore. So he took this photo of him, and he's trying to create, a nicer, newer looking photo of the founder of this company, and he had some pretty amazing results.
Really?
Yeah.
Because I thought that when I loaded in a photo, it was like, have this person do this thing. It never got the it was like,
I agree. I haven't been able to get it to look anywhere near what I want it to.
Yeah, for my company, I want to make before and after photos for dental offices for some of my dental customers. And if they don't have any, I was hoping I could just generate some. And it seems like the simplest thing in the world to have, like, before and after your teeth are crooked and then they're really straight. That seems like a very straightforward thing for Midjourney to do. And it will not make crooked teeth photos.
it won't.
I can't make it. And I've made like perfect smile photos. I've uploaded it and told Midjourney, make these teeth really crooked. And then like super creepy things come back. Like the photo of the person is like totally fine. But then there's like a photo hanging on the wall in the dentist office in the background with like evil, like horror film teeth. But it never will make the subject's teeth like crooked. So Midjourney's got a long way to go to like interpret the prompts the same way that ChatGPT does.
Wild.
Well, I think this is just the beginning for what we can do and what's going to be done here. I'm optimistic. I think I've seen with AI. I mean, there's some things that are like, whoa, this did so much of this, got me all the way there, but I still feel like it's it's like a moment of delight. Like I use Loom, and I recorded a Loom the other day to tell someone, and all of a sudden it starts writing the title of my Loom instead of just like the page I was on. It's like, and it's like little things like that are like, oh, that's like, I feel like that's going to be a lot of the enhancements that we're seeing. And then, but anytime you can do a big workflow with this, like with AI to cut down on so much of the work, it's like, it feels like you have superpowers.
No, I feel pretty excited by what oh, sorry, was someone to say something?
No, I don't think so.
All right. I was just saying then I feel pretty excited by what you presented today. I have a feeling people are going to ask you for more details and more detailed instructions, in which case you might need to follow up. I know you're trying hard not to do those tutorial videos anymore, but if you're going to tease us with these things, you might need to follow up with extra details.
Really?
That's my inclination because I would like them.
All right. Yeah, I haven't done one in a while, but maybe we could,
All right. What should we call it?
I've heard you can do a really good job at just asking ChatGPT to write it. If you just generically do it and tell it to like put together SOP in Notion. And I think there might even be a Notion plugin now that will help you put like SOPs together. So that's all that stuff's going to be a lot simpler getting it out of your brain.
Yeah.
We haven't even started to talk about cloning your voice, so you don't even have to record these things anymore.
Yeah.
We did that with our owner. I cloned his voice so we could start doing stuff in his voice. And I did a quick and dirty one, and it was pretty impressive.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a my favorite like fun podcast is the H3 podcast. And they've been doing shows for like 4 days a week for years. And like there's a great amount of fandom behind it. And every week there's new fans, but they don't understand a lot of the deep jokes. And there's a fan channel now that's doing all of the lore around the podcast. And they're doing it in the voice of the host. So they've trained an AI to mimic the host. And then they're making the video as if the host of the show is describing the history of the show as a separate channel. And this is fan created content. It's pretty wild.
Can you tell that it's not the host?
The first episode I listened to, I did not. I couldn't believe that they put the time in to do this like 56-minute video on this like one inside joke from like 4 years ago. And I thought it was like very like a little bit robotic compared to how the host normally operates, but I felt like he was just reading off a script. And then I looked down at the channel and wasn't even a channel by the podcast. And then later on in the subreddit, they described that this is a fan generated tool. So it was a little bit off, but not so much off that I knew. But once I knew, I could tell. It was, it's basically like that, Pope wearing the puffy jacket image that went crazy, right? Like everybody believed he was wearing that white puffy jacket. And then when everybody realized it was AI generated, everybody's like, oh yeah, I could tell. Well, not good. Yeah, not until it circled the globe in the news for 4 days.
I feel like I did see this.
Yeah,
that's great. That is actually really funny.
Yeah, and it's funny because like the hands are all screwed up because the Midjourney couldn't do hands back then. So
hands is still a problem across the industry.
It is, yeah.
I was talking to a friend earlier, and he said he's a developer. And he makes right now he's doing a bunch of projects on pinball machines. He's coding the pinball machines. And he said they've kind of run out of budget. This company that he's working for has run out of budget on this machine that he's working on. And so when it came to like the artwork and the videos for the machine, they've used AI to basically create the video. And then he also said that they tried to do it with they tried to do the voice because they had a voice actor that was doing it, and they were like, couldn't pay him anymore, so they tried to do AI voice. That didn't work. But the one thing he noticed was that he's like, I'm sitting here staring at this picture all day, and the image looks really good, and they put like filters over it, so there's like smoke, and it looks really, really good. But I noticed that they put a right hand on his left arm. And he's like, and then I could not unsee it. And so they had to like they took the Midjourney and photoshopped out the impression, and that's kind of what I was talking about earlier. It's like, it gets you not, in some cases it gets you, really, really close, but it still could take a human to go in and be like, a left hand belongs on a left arm.
Yeah, apparently there's been like 2 or 3 of these huge generative artwork businesses that supply all of the like open world video games with all of their art, because, you know, putting even a team of like 10 artists to try to do something like Elden Ring, there's too many swords, there's too many, you know, spells. So like almost all of it is generated by AI now. And I'll tell you, in that fantasy ultimate game that I was telling you about, one of the things that I did differently is I added augmented scoring with a card system. So like, if you're familiar with fantasy football, it would be like a card to like double the amount of touchdowns somebody scored in a game. And I was really bored with my idea of adding this augmented scoring. So I asked ChatGPT to come up with some better ideas. And I was stunned at how creative the ideas were.
Really?
Because it came up with like, you know, it basically came up with stuff that would be more derivative of multiple scoring things and more conceptual with sports. So it came up with like this offensive mastermind card that increased all of the offensive points, but negated all of the defensive points. So it was just something that I hadn't considered, that, you know, scoring, you know, like augmenting multiple stats in a way that felt more like a video game kind of augmentation, made a lot more sense. And on top of everything else, I decided to do all of that, and it made the coding and the database like ridiculously complex. So like in a fit of anger, I just like told ChatGPT, well, fine, you have to code this then, because this is like complicated to put in the database and to write the code to like iterate through the multiple stats in different ways. And yeah, I mean, I cannot believe it, but it actually spit out the code almost error free. I had to do one tiny little adjustment, but it would have taken me like probably 2-3 days and a bunch of like debugging to figure out what was wrong with it, and it did it in like 10 seconds.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
Yeah, if anybody is interested in like the a little bit more about the journey of how they got to ChatGPT 4, there's a small story on This American Life from this week. So if anybody listens to This American Life, I think it's like the first act talks a little bit about the moments the engineers were even like, we don't know how it does this, which is kind of scary, but also fascinating. And I don't know if that means it's soulless, Rachel, or if that means that there's actually more soul.
It's a learning computer.
Yeah.
Oh. All right, team. Thank you for coming. Really appreciate it. This has been a good chat. We could probably go for like another 2 hours, but I'm turning into a pumpkin, as they say.
Yes.
So anyway, want to thank everyone for coming. Mohammed, I think it's probably about time.
Almost
like
lunch.
Almost lunch. But it was great. Lou, appreciate you coming. Nimesha, you joined right at the end there. Sarah, our first attendee from the great country of St. Paul. And Manny, hope to see you again as well. So thank you so much for coming. Follow us, follow the LinkedIn and the YouTube and all the things, and then hopefully we can see you guys again in the future. Cool.
All right.
All righty. Have a good night.
All right, Dustin, you can go to bed now.
Guys.
Bye.